Hi, and thanks for being here. Some of you may be familiar with my work as an actress in television and film, Star Trek and other projects, but far more important and interesting is my off-screen life. It's much more meaningful. For the last 6 years, I've been mentoring kids and adults coming out of gangs at a place called Homeboy Industries in Los Angeles. Now, these are guys in serious gangs, the Crips and the Bloods. I worked with one man who was in prison for 29 years, and his story was all too familiar. He started out in gang membership when he was just a kid. He got bullied on the playground. He sought safety and support in gang membership, and eventually became a major oppressor. He wound up being the head of the Crips outside and inside Folsom State Prison. Now, we're not kidding around here. These are very, very serious cases. And yet, we're successful with them in a vast majority of the time. Why? I can tell you that in one sentence. Love works. All these guys have ever needed was a hero, a mentor, someone to intervene and give them not just a last chance, but a first chance. Bullying is unfortunately extremely prevalent in every segment of society, from childhood through high school, college, adulthood in the workplace, even in sports pages where many people seek their role models and their heroes. There are reports of hazing, injuries, and sometimes even fatalities. This happens on a high school and college level regularly. So bullying is something that we need to address on a widespread basis. So when Carrie Goldman wanted me to help her publicize her book on bullying in the pop culture world, we wanted to make as large an outreach as possible. We went ahead and approached a wide variety of organizations. We approached the United Nations Association, Cartoon Network, the Anti-Defamation League, the No Hate Foundation, and the Girl Scouts of America, among others. And we asked them to be part of a coalition to end bullying in the pop culture world. They all resounded with an absolutely enthusiastic yes. We were able to take the No Hate campaign to their and the United Nations Association to their very first pop culture convention ever. They were thrilled. Take a look. This is heartbreaking what a lot of kids go through, and adults. I realized that no one has ever done an anti-bullying effort on this issue and pop culture. Our thing here is, we all love superheroes, why not be one? Sound?
We are taunting affects us throughout our lives.
High school is not forever, so you just kind of forget it and then tell the story later to an awesome show at Comic-Con.
I think that that's a very effective way to diffuse it, is sort of show the absurdity of bullying.
Reach out and find your people.
Everyone has a voice, everyone has a talent.
Be proud of who you are.
Be cool, be kind. We love you guys. Thanks. You get the picture. So we were able to premiere the Pop Culture Antibullying Coalition at San Diego Comic-Con. And then we had an even bigger outreach at New York Comic-Con. We made it with a philosophy of, if you build it, they will come. And they came in droves. Students came, here we are. Students came for comfort, encouragement, camaraderie, and support. This little girl on the left, as happy as she looks in our booth, had been bullied so badly on the playground that her jaw was broken. Her mother cried in my arms at the booth, and we were able to refer them both to local agencies for ongoing support. We also built a wall of positive thoughts for kids who had been bullied, and we invited attendees to write a message of encouragement for someone who is bullied to read later. Our booth was filled, every square inch of it, with messages from survivors of bullying. The coolest thing was when we realized that most people were just writing messages to themselves. And what's so great about it is that Carrie is able to take these messages from survivors of bullying and bring them to kids who are being currently bullied in schools. Well, she brings most of them. When the kids came, the celebrities came also. We were able to sponsor No Hate's very first pop culture photo event ever. We also created the Celebrity I Am campaign, in which celebrities proudly display who they are in hopes that kids will pick up and do the same. Some of the most popular names and faces in pop culture have participated in our I Am campaign. Yep, even the venerable Captain Kirk, William Shatner, and comics icon Stan Lee. We'll tell him thanks. We also received a formidable amount of press on this, we're happy to say. Now, why is all of this working? Because love speaks louder. People are realizing that our need for superheroes on screen stems from our need for superheroes and heroes in real life, and our need to be a hero in real life. On that note, we have created a culture where we are vastly able to let people know that they should be proud of who they are. And so we've morphed our Celebrity I Am campaign into a campaign where everybody proclaims their individuality. Now, I'm not just talking a tolerance or an acceptance of who people are. I'm talking a bold-faced charity. We love who you are, be it. In that, we've been able to make a formidable difference, speaking regularly around the globe with students, parents, and educators, teaching them to recognize and respond to acts of bullying, and more importantly, to intervene. We work with educators and experts around the globe, and here is Carrie Goldman, author and co-founder of our coalition, to tell you about it.
Thanks so much. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, all of you, for coming together for such an amazing topic. So Chase explained to you that we have raised awareness about all of this and we're getting celebrities on board. But when people actually come to our conventions or actually come to our events, we want to teach them something. So I'm going to give you just the quickest 6-minute exactly snapshot on what we teach people when we do the larger workshops. And if you find it interesting, feel free to come to one of the workshops tomorrow that I'm going to be expanding on it a little bit. So when we talk about how to prevent or intervene with bullying, we have to address 3 different groups. If you think it's all about getting a target to stand up for herself and that'll solve it, then you're missing a couple parts. If you think it's all about just teaching empathy to the people who are acting as the aggressors, you're missing a couple parts. And if you think it's just teaching the bystanders how to act as witnesses and allies, you're missing a couple parts. You have to do it all. You have to get out there and look at the relational ecology among all the different groups and address what's happening with each one to make a difference. Let's start with a quick glance at the aggressors. Many schools have a zero tolerance policy, which means if somebody commits an act of bullying, they might get suspended, or workplaces have this too, some kind of punitive response. All that does is make the person who acted as the bully really mad. And then they threaten to retaliate against the people that they're targeting. So you know what happens? The people being targeted are scared out of their mind and they won't report anything. Then the schools say, hey, we're not having any reports of bullying. Bullying's down. No, it's just that people aren't reporting it. So we need to think differently. We need to find a way to change the way an aggressor thinks. This is why we are introducing programs like restorative justice into schools. It's why we want to find ways for someone who did the harm to repair that specific harm that they've done. One of my favorite stories with restorative justice is we had 2 6th grade boys, and one had stomped on the lunchbox, the Superman lunchbox of the other boy, and thrown out the lunch, and it was a devastating situation. And instead of using a suspension, the school decided to use restorative justice. The boys went through the process of counseling and a peace circle, and a reparation agreement was made where instead of punishing the boy who did it, he and the other child went together with their parents to Target, and the kid who had been the bully used some of his own money to help buy a new Superman lunchbox. Then they went together to the house of the kid who'd been victimized with parents around, and together they baked brownies, because during the peace circle, it came out that they both loved brownies, and they packed a lunch together. And the final step was the next day at school, the boy who had been the aggressor invited that child to sit at his table. How many of you think someone who has paid for a new lunchbox, made a lunch with a kid, and then had him sit at his table is going to stomp on that lunchbox again? It won't happen. This is the way we want to think. We want to think of how to repair harm and how to bring empathy. So that's an example of how we want to look at aggressors. For targets often lose their voice. I have a worksheet that I give with targets, and it has 3 simple steps, and I'm going to tell them to you here. Instead of saying, hey, they're being mean to me when you go to a school, because it's kind of hard for a school or a workplace to know what to do with that. You need to be specific. So step 1, you say, what exactly is happening? Are people, throwing out my lunch or making fun of me at lunch? And how is step 2, how is it affecting you? Maybe the way it affects me is I'm hiding in the bathroom because I'm afraid to go eat in the cafeteria. And step 3, what would you like to see done? Parents usually want big punishments for the bullies, but if you ask the person being victimized, they usually just want the bullying to stop. So we give a voice. This is acting as a hero. If you are brave enough to ask for help when you need it, to describe what's happening, and to have a part in the plan of what you'd like to see happen, you are being a hero. Finally, we want to look at the bystanders. I call the bystanders the everyday heroes, because they are the ones with the real power to make a difference. And when we talk about the bystanders, one of the problems we have is that many schools have slogans on the wall that say, stand up to bullying. It's a great message, but we have to actually teach how to do that. What does that mean, stand up to bullying? If you ask most kids, and I have, because I interview hundreds and hundreds of kids every year, they think it means walk up to the bully and say, cut it out, you're being a jerk. Now, I don't know about you, but a lot of people probably wouldn't feel safe in a situation walking up to someone in the heat of the moment and saying that. So we need to give all of our bystanders other options. I teach them what's called a ladder approach, where there's different steps down a ladder, all different ways to act as a witness or an ally. Maybe you don't feel safe confronting someone, but you could send a text later to the person being targeted saying, I saw what was going on. Are you okay? Maybe you don't want to confront someone outright, but you say, you know what, I'm not going to retweet that. I'm not going to share on Instagram that mean thing. I'm going to actually print it out and take it to the school. Maybe you're afraid to do anything publicly, but anonymously you want to make a written report of it so that you can get help for someone. There are all different ways to stand up and be a witness or an ally. So when we look at all of these together, we find ways for people to act as everyday heroes. The fourth area where we have to look is the media and the culture. All of us live not in a vacuum, but in a culture. And we need to address the messages our kids are getting. So if you can be brave enough to stand up and say, we're not going to punish, we're going to simply react and teach empathy and change the culture, that's how we make a difference. Thank you so much.